What's up, YouTube? Steel Orange here, and today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite items, and that is Polynomicon. I'm going to be talking about who you're going to build this item on and why, and also who you're not going to build this item on and why, and just kind of talk about also how you're going to be using this item on the characters that you're going to buy it on. So, real quick, I just want to go over the ability. Polynomicon is a lifesteal ability. It gives you 10% magical lifesteal. It's only for magical characters. 300 mana and 75 magical power. But the important thing about Polynomicon is not really any of these stats, but it's passive, which is using an ability gives your next basic attack within the next 8 seconds, plus 75% of your magical power as additional magical damage. This effect can only apply once every 3 seconds. So, this is essentially the mage version of Hydra's Lament. Operates a little bit differently. Hydra's Lament has no cooldown, so you can keep using it over and over and over again. Whereas Polynomicon, there is a 3-second cooldown, so if you're auto-canceling between all your abilities, you're not going to get it every single time. But the bonus with Polynomicon is that it hits a lot harder. With Hydra's Lament, you hit for a bonus 30% of your next auto attack, damage, whatever. So it adds a little bit of a bonus to your next auto attack. With Polynomicon, it adds an additional 75% of your magical power to your next auto attack. And so when you're building like power mages, like for example Cilla or Kukulkan, where you have at the end of the game, say 600 magical power, then that means that your auto attack after using an ability is going to hit for like 200 base damage plus an additional 400, so you're autoing for like 600 damage. So it's basically like a late game crit for a hunter that you get automatically every time you use an ability. So it's a really strong item on certain characters when used correctly. So I want to go over, I'm basically just going to go through each of the mages and talk about who you're going to be building it on, who you can build it on, but it's more of a preference thing, and who you should not be building it on and kind of why. So I'm going to start with Agni. Agni Polynomicon is very rarely built on. Just the reason being that there are other items that are more important to him. He wants high power and just he wants to build a lot of burst damage, which Polynomicon can do. So again, you can get away with it if you want. He does have a stun in his kit, which allows him to set up for that auto attack. A lot of characters that build Polynomicon are going to build it because they have setup, where if they use one ability, it sets up so that they can confirm their next auto attack pretty easily. And so Agni does have that. The difference though is that usually when he stuns somebody, he's following it up with his other abilities rather than his auto attack, so he's not typically played that way where he's autoing in between his abilities. But that said, if you want to play him that way, you could. It's sort of a flavor pick on Agni, but not something that you'll see a lot. Opwash, you're not building Polynomicon on. Opwash is very dependent on cooldown reduction and health and slows, and so those are kind of the things you want to be building into, not so much Polynomicon. Anubis, never ever ever building Polynomicon unless you're just doing some cheeky full lifesteal build. But there are other, lifesteal is good on Anubis, but there are other lifesteal items that are better for Anubis, because Anubis never auto attacks after he wraps someone. He's always wrapping somebody to set up for his other abilities, not for his auto attacks. Ao Kuang, this is the first character that I'm going to say you absolutely almost have to build Polynomicon. Like, you could get away with not building it, but there's no reason not to build Polynomicon on Ao Kuang, and here's why. His third ability, his 3, applies on-hit effects, meaning that this ability actually procs Polynomicon itself. So it allows you to do an insane amount. It's a cone ability, basically. You just shoot out this cone, it does damage, but then it also procs Polynomicon, which in the late game is going to give that ability an extra like 400 damage immediately. So this allows him to be super, super bursty. And it's almost a must on Ao Kuang. This also procs on using all his other abilities if you then auto attack after them. But it's really the reason you want to use this because of his 3. Okay, Aphrodite, you're not building Polynomicon on. She is a healer. You want to build healing items, a little bit of defense, a little bit of power, and some penetration, but certainly not Polynomicon. Chang'e, same thing, is kind of Opwash. She depends more on cooldown reduction and health, so you're not going to be building Poly on her. Chronos, you are going to be building Poly on. You don't have to. He's not like Ao Kuang where you have to build Polynomicon, but Chronos is sort of a magical hunter, so he's auto-attacking a lot. So lifesteal is it's very conducive to build lifesteal on him. And Polynomicon is one of the more popular choices for him because he has a stun in his kit. And the stun that he has is sort of this drawn out thing where it slows them down and then stuns them. And so in that amount of time, people usually auto attack a couple times and then follow up with his first ability. And so it's really easy to hit that Polynomicon shot. He has multiple abilities that can set it up so you can use it different times, and so it's a really good option for Chronos to sort of increase his burst damage. You can get away with Bancroft's Talon or what's the other one? Pythagorean's piece as other options depending on the situation, but Polynomicon is certainly viable on him if you like it. Freya. Freya is kind of the same thing as Chronos, definitely an option and a good one if you want to. It's a little bit less common on Freya, just because Freya is, she relies on auto-attacking multiple times in a row, so a lot of people prefer Bancroft's Challenge or Pythagorean's Feast because they have higher power and higher lifesteal. However, with Freya's Banish, you are guaranteeing the first auto after that ability. I mean, unless you just suck or you're like me, then you're going to hit that ability almost every time. So, or that auto attack rather after the Banish every single time. So it's a guaranteed Polynomicon proc every time you hit the Banish. So it is definitely viable on Freya. Some people choose not to build it, but you definitely can if you want to. Hades, again, he's like a health defense cooldown reduction mage. You're not building Polynomicon on him. Habois, he does have some setup for Polynomicon, but usually he uses that setup to set up with his other abilities, and he has so much burst damage that you really don't need the Polynomicon on him. He's going to blow people up without it. Hell's a healer. You're not auto-attacking hardly ever with Hell. Don't use Polynomicon. Isis is interesting because almost nobody builds Polynomicon on her, and I think that might be a mistake. I don't think you should build it all the time, but I think that it's an option because her Spirit Ball is really good setup for her for Polynomicon, and it doesn't really set up any of her other abilities that well. You kind of just stun somebody, and then it's like, all right, now what do I do? So Polynomicon can be a good follow-up for that. You don't have to build it on her. You can build her more utility with like cooldown reduction and stuff, or you can build her really high damage and not build the Polynomicon, but Polynomicon is definitely an option. I think. A lot of people don't do it. I kind of like it. I think it kind of fits with her Spirit Ball really well. Giannis. You're not building Polynomicon on Giannis because even though he has set up with his portal, you're using that portal to set up for your 2, not an auto attack, and also more as an escape. So you're really not auto attacking much with Giannis. Kukulkan, definitely. I love Polynomicon on Kukulkan. His first ability hits really hard, and it's like a 40% slow or something like that. Slows people a lot, so it makes that next auto attack really easy to hit. It adds a lot of burst damage to his kit and allows you to burst people down even when your ultimate is not available to you. So I think it's a really good item on him. You don't have to build it on Kukulkan, but it's very popular, and I think a very good good option on him. Nox, don't build Polynomicon. You never auto attack with Nox after you use an ability. Like I mean, you use your abilities in combo with each other. You're not auto attacking between them ever, so don't build it on Nox. Nua's kind of like Isis, where it's not the most popular pick by any stretch of the imagination, but it is an option because she has a stun in her kit, and it doesn't really, once she stuns somebody, she's already used most of her kit anyway, and so that can give her the a little bit more burst damage sort of to follow up on that stun. She also has a root in her kit, so that can also follow up on that, even though her root is not an ability root, it's actually an auto attack root. If you auto attack and then throw an ability out and then auto again, you can get that Polynomicon proc pretty easily. So it's an option. You don't have to do it, but you can get away with it if that's what you want to do. Poseidon. Poseidon's kind of similar. Polynomicon's not popular on Poseidon, and I think this is a mistake. I absolutely love Polynomicon on Poseidon. Poseidon is usually built with a lifesteal item, but it's usually Bancroft's Talon just because people want the most power possible to give him the best burst potential on his combo. His combos, he throws down his Whirlpool, then Krakens, then uses his Tidal Surge, and then uses his Trident to auto attack. And so there's a couple reasons that Polynomicon is really good for this. One, since you're throwing out all these abilities and then your last ability is an auto attack stim, basically, so you're auto attacking at the end of this combo, it's just going to add more burst to the end of that combo. You're going to be able to burst people down really effectively. But the other reason is that one of the big downsides of Poseidon is that if his Kraken, if his ultimate is not available to him, then he's just kind of useless sometimes. I mean, he's not useless, but he decreases greatly in value. He's all about his ultimate. When that's not down, he's sort of just a spectator and doesn't really do a whole lot. But with Polynomicon, that changes because you have a slow and a cripple in your kit that can set up for an auto attack. You have a knockup that can kind of set up for your auto attack. And you also have your Trident, which is your second ability. I'm going to go look at it real quick, which splits your auto attacks into 3 and adds more auto attack damage. So you're auto attacking a bit more with Poseidon than other mages. And so if you are able to hit those auto attacks, even though there's not a ton of setup for them, if you're not full comboing, even if you don't have your full combo, if you can hit those auto attacks, it still gives you a little bit more burst damage and a little bit more presence in the game, even when your Kraken is down. Now, it should be noted that Poseidon's Trident splits his auto attack into 3. Polynomicon only procs if you hit the middle of the 3. It does not proc on the side ones. So just keep that in mind. I still think it's a really good item on Poseidon, though. You don't have to build it. You can build Bancroft's Talent for sure, and I do it sometimes. But I think Polynomicon is a very viable option and a very underused option on Poseidon. Ra, don't build Polynomicon. You don't really auto-attack with him that often. He's more about his abilities and his healing. Same thing with Raijin. Raijin's a burst mage, but he bursts with his abilities. He's not going to waste time auto-attacking in between because it just slows him down. Cilla. I think Cilla is probably the single best character to build Polynomicon on in the game. Cilla is always built with extremely high damage. She has the capability to build more power in her kit than almost every other mage in the game. And so Polynomicon is going to hit harder on her than almost any other mage. The other thing is that it fits really well within her combo of abilities. She has her first ability is a Root and Cripple that does a ton of damage. And then her second ability is a AoE ground attack that does a ton of damage as well, like way too much damage. And so normally her combo is that she'll root somebody with her first ability and then throw her 2 on top of them, and then blow them up, right? But that's not usually enough to kill somebody until the very late game. But when you throw Polynomicon in the mix, now all of a sudden you're rooting somebody with your 1, throwing your 2 on them, but then they're still rooted because the root lasts for a really long time. So before you pop your 2, you're going to auto attack them once. It's free. You'll never miss it if you hit the root because they're standing still, unless you're me, and then you'll miss them anyway. And then you pop your crush, and so now all of a sudden this is adding an extra 600 damage in the middle of your combo. And so you can blow up squishy targets, tanky targets, anything really. And this allows you, this is kind of the same thing where it allows you to fight even when you don't have your ultimate up, and just really increases the amount of damage you can do without even having to use your ultimate. So yeah. Sol. Sol is the third of the magical hunters. She's like Chronos and Freya, where she's auto-attacking more often than the other characters, and so Polynomicon is a very good choice on her. You definitely want to have, most of the time you want to have at least 1 lifesteal item on Sol, and Polynomicon is the most popular choice. Bancrofts can be chosen again, and so can Pythagorum's Piece, but Polynomicon is certainly a popular choice and a very viable one. Thoth. I was going to say no, but you could get away with it because he has like an auto attack slow in his kit that can set up for the Polynomicon, but it's not really the style of play that he fits in. Thoth is more of like an artillery damage, kind of sit in the back and just toss out, he's a cannon, like to the MLC stealth thing. He's literally just a cannon that sits in the back line and just chucks out these long range attacks and doesn't really get in close enough to the fight to auto attack that much anyway. So it doesn't really fit with this playstyle, but you could get away with it. That would be sort of a flavor thing, kind of like the Isis. Vulcan, no. He is only ability based. Zeus, no. Because Zeus is actually interesting. People at Worlds have been doing this a lot, where you can build Zeus really pretty tanky, and his base damage is so high that he can still do top player damage in the game, but be so hard to kill. So you're really focusing on power penetration and defense on Zeus, just keep him alive. And then Jean-Qui, kind of the same thing as Zeus, where you want to have a little bit of defense, some health in there, and you're not really auto-attacking in between abilities, so not on Jean-Qui at all. So yeah, that's it. Oh, actually, no, there's one more. I forgot. Okay. So the last character that we'll talk about Polynomicon on is Cabrakan. Cabrakan's a guardian, but he can be played, he's a pretty high damage guardian, and he can be played in a few different roles. He can be played in support, solo, or jungle. If you're playing Cabrakan in the support role, please do not build Polynomicon. Please don't be that guy that plays support and builds damage, because then you're not really supporting your team. You're just picking a support character and not playing support. So don't build Polynomicon. However, if you're in the solo or the jungle, then you are going to want to have a little bit of damage, or if you're in the jungle, even a lot of damage in your build. And Polynomicon is a fantastic item for Cabrakan because he has an auto attack that stuns people and sets up for another auto attack for free after that, and then has his shield wall, which is more damage. So this is again going to add an extra 300 or 400 damage into his burst that can allow him to take what would normally burst somebody from 100 to like 50% health in one combo to like 100 to 0, basically, if you're way ahead. So definitely very good on Cabrakan if you're in one of the two roles that you can be building damage on. Again, don't do it on support. So yeah, that's it about Polynomicon. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it was helpful. If you guys have any comments, anything you disagree with me about, or any questions or whatever, let me know in the comments, of course. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. And as always, check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/steelorange3398. That's where I'm filming this now. And yeah, I'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching.